Hey y'all, today I'm going to show you how I made this Yuletide Colorize wreath from Tim Holtz. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so people have been asking if this is a hard thing to put together. So I thought that I'd put one together for you live. Well, not really live, but kind of live, so you can kind of see how I did it. Now, what I have here is just some inexpensive watercolor paper. I don't like to use my good watercolor paper for this. And I'm just getting it wet, and I am going to spray it down with the three greens. I've got, let's see, I've got Tree Lot. This one is Holly Branch. Tree Lot I love. It's my favorite. It's a nice deep dark green. And I've got fresh balsam. I think I put fresh balsam first and then Holly Branch or Tree Lot. And then I'm just kind of mixing them all sort of together. So what I want is kind of basically 4 different shades of green. And so I'm just moving this around here. Try not to leave any white spaces. And don't worry, what I don't use, I'll use on something else. So I'm just adding more water here just to kind of get it moving around. And then I'll add some more mica stain. So I'm pretty heavy-handed with this stuff. You'll see as evidenced by how it's all over my hands, but that's okay. All right, we've got our green done. It's set aside, and now we're going to do our colors for our berries, our bow, and our bell. So the same thing, I've got a big old piece of watercolor paper, just the cheap stuff, wetting it down, and now I'm going in with the tart cranberry, and then I'll go in with peppermint stick. And ignore how I shake those. And then finally, I'll go in with the cocktail party. So that I've got my 3 shades of red for my berries and my bow. Okay. And now I'm just going to flip my paper over here. And I'm going to go in with crooked broomstick. I'm almost out of this. I'm going to be sad. And then decayed, believe it or not. So I kind of overlap it over the crooked broomstick. And then I've got flickering candle. And I'm going to kind of overlap that with the decayed. And then I've got harvest moon. And there we go. Now I'm just going to wet everything down and get it moving so that I have multiple shades of the same color. And I'm going to go ahead and get this dry, and I'm kind of letting it run down just so that I get kind of some color variations. There we go. Now that that's dry, I'm going to get out my colorized set. Now this I printed out from the Sizzix YouTube channel. I just made a still and took a screenshot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these dies in order. And then those are my prototypes that I made up top. So I can see that my first shade needs to be a lighter green. So I'm going to go and I'm going to grab my green paper, and I'm going to grab about the mid-tone green right here. And I'm just going to cut these little pieces out as they kind of match my little guide that I printed. So I know that the layer 2 is the darkest layer. Then layer 3 is a little bit lighter. So I'll cut it right from here. So it's a little bit of both. And layer 4 is lighter. It's about the lightest one. And then the layer 5 is about the same as layer 3. And make sure you get your little pieces out before you try to die cut again. I didn't even notice those in there. All right, now I'm going to cut all these out. Now that I've got them cut out, I've got a little tip on my multimedia mat I'm going to use, and I like to use that because it kind of shrinks and it dries clear. So this is layer 2 in my hand, and I'm grabbing my extra fingers there, which are my tweezers, and just moving everything else out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm looking for landmarks, and you'll hear that a lot in this video. So I want to match up my landmarks. which are little notches just like a puzzle piece. Because sometimes when you spray or ink with a really dark ink, it's kind of hard to see those guidelines. So, you know, it's a good idea to make yourself a visual reference of where the next piece goes. Well, these first 3 pieces are pretty easy. It's when you get to layers 4 and 5 that it starts to get a little daunting, but I'm going to show you how easy it can be. So I'm just going to press that down, and I'm going to press lightly at first because I don't want it to shift on me. And then I like to take a paper towel and press straight down. There we go. Just dab up any excess glue there. If anything moved, try and get it back into place before that glue takes hold. Then I'm going to take layer 3, which is also very easy because the center landmarks are all the same. And same thing, and I'm not super careful about how I'm putting this glue on. I don't want to get a bunch on the mica though, because it is a matte glue, and so we'll lose some of our shine. But I'm not real worried about it. That mica is pretty powerful. Just making sure that I get glue in all the spots, or pretty much all of them. I don't want my wreath coming apart on me. And that tip is just a tip from my art glitter glue. I just stole it and put it on there for temporary. And I'm just going to lay that down, make sure all the centers are matched up, make sure the edges are matched up. Because you do have some thin pieces of paper, like in some of the in-between places where it can get misshapen easily. Not a huge deal. They are leaves after all. But I'm going to go ahead and just dab this down a little bit too. Now we get to go in, and I'm going to zoom in really, really close. You're going to see every speck of hair, dirt, and everything else. But it's important to me that you get to see this really close up. So let me get myself pretty much centered here. And I want you to see so that you can see kind of how I find the landmarks. So first of all, I've got my little piece that I've already done here, which is not that important, but just to kind of look at for a visual guide so I can kind of see where these pieces are, next pieces are supposed to go on layer 4. And just a tip, layer 5 all goes on top of layer 4. None of it goes anyplace else. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking for my landmark. And I'm looking at this piece and finding it's not really all that helpful, and you can't see it at all, so no worries here. I'm going to grab this piece, and you see how I found my landmark, so I can see the edges of both sides of that, those little holly, or those little leaves, clusters of leaves, all match up. So the outside and the inside. I'm hoping I can give you a better view of what I'm trying to show you. And there are little marks inside as well. But again, they're kind of hard to see if you sprayed these with mica. No biggie. We'll just throw some glue on here, and the first one's always the hardest. And then I'm going to lay it down and make sure all my pieces are lined up. Because remember I said there are some skinny little pieces in there that can easily become misshapen. You know, even when you're pulling it out of the die or at whatever step you are. I'm just using my little teeny tweezers, and I like to pinch my tweezers myself. I don't like the kind that pinch themselves. I don't know, just a preference. You see that landmark right there? Down at the bottom and at the top, you can see that they match up with parts of the wreath that's already been put together. You'll see when I lay it down. There you go. See, there's that little kind of wonky rectangle pokey piece there that shows you exactly where it should be. And I just want to make sure everything's secure. So those are the big pieces. The little pieces are easy. So again, I look for landmarks. I can see that there's a mark there on that top leaf, and I can see this is shaped just like it, so it's going to fit like a puzzle piece or something. And for this one, I can see that bottom part matches up. And you can slow this down, speed it up, stop it and take screenshots, whatever you need to do if you need, if you want to just kind of study it so that you can kind of train your brain where the pieces might go. So I'm looking around and I'm looking for landmarks, and here I see those two pieces match up. See how that matched up at the bottom there? And at the top and around that other kind of notched rectangle. Okay, so there's layer 4 down. Now all we have left is layer 5, and just remember that layer 5 goes on top of layer 4 only. So it doesn't go up and down and around, it goes on top. So I'm counting my pieces, and I'm going to grab the hardest piece. And you see there's that landmark again, that weird rectangle right there. Right there. Match those two up. And once you do this once or twice, you kind of will be even better. That's why I made a practice piece, and I didn't care if it was put together perfectly or anything else. I just wanted to kind of start building some muscle memory around it. And then I use my tweezers to kind of move it around before it takes hold. Sorry, part of my head's in the way, but I'm up real close to it. So that's when you want to be careful pressing down, and then I just was digging some of that excess glue out of there. And for this one, I can see the landmark there in that weird shaped, I don't know, check mark and kind of an odd rectangle. I can see that those match up. And I know that the long piece goes on top of the long piece, and I've already done one of the long pieces, so there's only one long piece to do. Hey, whatever makes your day, right? There we go. And I will be doing a part 2 because I'm going to complete a card, but it was too long. So I split this up into making the wreath, and then the second part will be actually creating a card using the wreath we just made. I'm just going to press that down with my paper towel and then put on the remaining of the pieces and see how I'm checking that it matches up. You could do these in any colors you want. I'm kind of a traditionalist when it comes to Christmas, although I have gone crazy too, so it is what it is. But as far as this wreath goes, I saw a purple one that was just gorgeous. I want to say Jen Shirkus made it, but I don't remember. I don't have my brain on right now. It was cool though. It was either Jen or Sharon. One of the Rainbow Girls. Now this last piece is going to go on the last leaf, which is not leaf shaped, so it does make it kind of difficult to find, but if you look for it, you'll find it, and you'll see that you've got matching landmarks again. Sometimes if the piece, you can't find where the piece goes, turn it upside down. Okay. Boy, I'm way crooked on that guy. And my glue is being goofy. That's okay. One thing I can say, when you're doing teeny tiny things, be ultra, ultra patient. Give yourself a break. All right, we've got the wreath done. That's the hard part. Let's go do the easy part. Now, I'd like to say, that stupid hair won't leave me alone. I would like to say that, and I like to put these away, by the way. I'd like to say that the berries are easy, are hard, but they're not. They're just tedious because they're tiny. So I'm grabbing my gold pieces and I'm gonna lay those out on the paper, dark to light. So layer 1 is dark. I'm gonna find the darkest part of the red there. And then layer 2 is medium. And that's the peppermint stick. And then layer 3, I'm doing in kind of a pink. So it's the highlight layer. And now the berries are completely opposite. So layer 1 is the lightest color. And then layer 2 is medium and layer 3 is the darkest. And you can completely skip the berries if you want to and just make your own. With stickles, hey, stickles is my friend, I'm telling you. Then I'm going to cut out the bell. So layer 1's going to be the darkest, so I'm going to get that down in the crooked broomstick. And I'll refer to my picture again. So there are 4 layers on the bell. So I'm going to go the kind of little bit lighter, and then I'll go, and that's into the decayed. And then I'll go into the, what was that yellow color? I forgot already. Flickering candle, and then the harvest moon. So I've got my 4 shades of gold. Now everybody's cut out, and I'll go ahead and on camera do one of these berries, and then I'll do the rest off camera. Because they're so tiny. And this is the big one. So you want to have good eyesight and a steady hand kind of. And then, but they're just the 3 layers. So you're going to do the whole, and then the kind of highlight layer on the top one goes on the bottom. There's that. We'll do the rest off camera. All right, those are done. Now we'll do the super easy parts, which is the bow and the bell. So just coating my bow in the glue, and then just making sure it's all nice and even. And then doing it again. Now you can ink the edges of these before you glue them if you want to, but for the sake of time, I did not. And it's not necessary. You can do it after or not do it at all. All right, there's the bow. Let's get the bell. I like this bell. I can see using it for a lot of things. It almost looks like a brass bell instead of gold. All right, there's layer 3. Whoops, slip away on me, will ya? And we've got to put the little dimension here on the bell. There we go. And then we'll do layer 4. And you can see clearly the places where it goes and me trying to lay it the wrong way. Yeah, we're going to do the wreath, but to go do something simple ain't going to happen. And then layer 4, which is just the 3 little, well, this is, yeah, still part of layer 4. The 2 little, you'll see there's 2 little dots in there. Don't miss those. They're tiny, and oh man, they're hard to pick up. You can try picking them up with your jewel picker. This one wants to stick to my fingers, wants to stick to everything. All I'm trying to do is flip it over, and it's still going to lay the wrong way. I have an idea. Let's pick this up, stick it to our tweezers, and then stick it down. There we go. There's our bell. Now it's time for assembly. So I should probably zoom back out, but I didn't. I'm referencing the picture and deciding where the bell needs to go. And you can put it anywhere you want to, but I kind of want to do it like the picture. So I'm just going to place a good glob of glue there and then glue down my bell. I'm going to put something behind it kind of so that I can press down on it without actually bending it. And then I'm going to place the bow on top. That easy. Last thing we need to do is place the berries. And I'm kind of placing them the way referenced again to the picture. You can put them any place you want. Oh, now my bow's moving on me. Let me give a good push here. I'm just putting little dots of glue and then picking up the berries and putting them down. Hey, gold finger. Oh, Lord. Okay, that's a good idea. We'll press it with the flat part of our tweezers. You kind of want to get them in, you know, on so they lay between flat pieces, so that they're sort of tucked in. I'll tuck this one down there. Put his little friend down here, put a little friend there. The smaller ones are the more difficult to put on, especially if your fingers are sticky or you habitually drop things. Get on there. And I'm gonna just put a glob of glue and just set it down on there. Put his little friend there. Put one more friend right here. There we go. There's our wreath. All right, so here's the finished wreath, and here it is on the card. So for part 2, I'll show you how I made this card. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your support, and have an awesome day.